Alright, our last wood texture is going to be a little bit more painterly. Now, this can be done with just a mouse if you have followed our course for creating artwork for non-artists. But on stuff like this, if you have a tablet or if you can afford to pick up even an inexpensive one like a Wacom Bamboo, life's going to start to get a lot easier. But we will do our best, and I will continue to do as much of this texture work as I can without using my Wacom tablet. And I will try wherever I have to just to get through it with the Wacom tablet quickly, just so I'm not boring you guys to death. But we'll discuss it as we go. All right, I have a 1024 by 1024 palette ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is I have a couple of nice browns, a very deep brown. And then I just sampled that one and chose a little bit less deep brown. So for our first layer, we're going to go back to our Ever Wonderful Clouds filter. We'll get a nice cloud in here. Now the key to this texture, or any texture that has a painterly style, is to provide a lot of information to work with, and we'll kind of let what happens guide our hand as we go. So we've got our clouds. We're going to go ahead and create another layer right away, and now I'm going to show you guys a different way to approach adding color. So I'm going to grab my dark brown I have up here, and right now we're on hue, which basically shows us our different color palettes depending on where we move our slider. I'm going to come down. We have H, S, and B, which is hue, saturation, and brightness. Brightness is synonymous with value. So we're going to paint with some value now. So right here, our cursor is where our current color is. So I'm going to just pull that down and create a darker one. And then I'm going to grab my other color. I'm going to sample off of this, and I'm going to push that tone much lighter. We're also going to have to talk about how your textures look when you're painting by hand when you start out. They're going to look like garbage. Don't worry about that. All right, it'll all come together. You'll see. So we're going to increase the size of our brush pretty good. We're going to vary it as we go. We've got our new layer. I've got my dark color selected right now. I'm going to come in. I'm going to grab a soft brush. I'm going to hit my little brushes icon, and we're going to play around with this a little bit. I don't want it hard and I don't want it soft. I want it somewhere in between, maybe 60%. Just a little bit of spacing is fine. I don't need smoothing. I don't really need shape dynamics either, but I am going to come in to scattering. And I'm going to push up my scattering just a little bit, and I'm going to make sure that both axes is checked. Now, depending on what kind of Photoshop you have, this used to be defaulted to checked, and now it's not. So just make sure you've got that checked. And you see you'll get these nice bumpy, with a little bit of blur to them, edges. That's just fine. We'll work with that. So we'll just come in, and I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to click down, and before I move, I'm going to hold Shift so that I get a nice straight line down. Now that's not a very nice straight line, but you can see top to bottom it is, and this bumpiness is what we set up in our brush. And I'm just going to do that in a few random places. Click, Shift, and pull it down. And change up my brush size a little bit. Click Shift and pull it down, and just continue to work those in there. That's not too bad. Then I'm just going to flip over to my other color. I'm going to do the same thing. Just kind of randomly place these in here. Maybe make these even smaller. And go back and forth a little bit. I don't want to completely wipe out the texture behind, but you'll see in a minute it won't matter too much because it will show through when we're done. So I'm largely pretty happy with that. I might pull off these edges here a little bit. So that's pretty good. All right, now, it doesn't look pretty good. It looks terrible, but that's okay. We're going to come over to our layer. And I think right now we're just going to change our opacity. I'm going to knock it down, say 40%. And now you see the clouds texture is starting to come through that. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now we're going to create another new layer. And we're going to keep going with our filters. So this time, clouds layer will fill an empty layer, but or clouds filter will fill an empty layer, but most of the filters will not. So I'm going to come in and grab my paint bucket, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill the layer. Then I'm going to go to filter, render, and this time I'm going to do fibers. Now, we have a couple of choices here. We have variance and strength. Basically, as you can see here, with a medium variance and a low strength, it's pretty garbled. This is a good kind of thing you want if you want to paint more of like an old, rotty kind of wood. If you want something cleaner, then we're going to bring our variance down. We're going to bring our strength way up. Now you see we get these very straight, clean lines. This works a little bit better if you want something a little newer and sleeker looking. We're already kind of going the gnarly wood way with the lines we painted, so I'm going to bring that back down. Bring that up. Numbers really up to you. I don't have any specific numbers that I use here. I just kind of look at the screen and see what makes me happy. Alright, I'm thinking maybe there, because besides the lines going kind of in a straight direction, we're also starting to get a little bit of side-to-side information, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, this one we're going to go ahead and knock down to, let's try 75. Now, maybe a little less. Maybe a little less yet. That's not too bad. I think we'll hang out there. Okie dokie. Now, we're going to add one more layer. Well, not one more layer, but for the base texture, this will be just about the last layer. I'm going to come over and grab my color palette, switch back to hue, and I'm going to grab right around a 50% gray. And I'm going to go ahead and take my paint bucket, and I'm just going to fill this. And then I'm going to set this to overlay. And then we're going to start painting with our dodge tool and our burn tool. Now, to speed this up a little bit, I am going to go ahead and switch over to my Wacom tablet. I'm also going to stop this video here and continue in the next one so that we don't have some crazy time constraints going on. So I'll go ahead and see you in the next video.